It's really good to see many people here who are getting younger. I'm a little bit self-conscious because I think there are other people watching us, right? Through the Zoom, right? So we better behave. I didn't know that I've been here 8 times. Anyway, I consider myself as a Vajrayana practitioner. And lot of that has to do with culture, maybe, because I was born and groomed by culture or country or a culture or a family that has Vajrayana just Vajrayana phenomena. That may be a good thing in one way. Some people will consider this as a fortunate thing. But it could also be it could also be a veil, some sort of obstruction in the real path. Sometimes I think of this. I grow up looking at, pictures and statues of all kind. Very serene, saintly looking Shakyamuni Buddha, and wrathful skull garland, deities, female and male deities in union, images of figures that has buffalo head, elephant head, many times all together, those devilish looking figures and holy looking and no question is raised in my head. And I don't know whether it's a good thing or not a good thing from the actual Vajrayana point of view. Sometimes I think it's good, other times I feel that maybe all this may have distanced myself from actually appreciating the tantric wisdom, that the culture ended up hijacking me. But I also grow up in a culture and a tradition that cherishes reasoning, and that actually quite vigorously. I would say at least 10 to 15 years of my time was spent studying Buddhist logic, critical thinking, analytical thinking. Where you analyze so much so that you deconstruct everything, including the Buddha and the Dharma, the Sangha, everything that we venerate. Just as how Buddha himself advised us to do so, he encouraged us to analyze, never to take things at face value. And I have to say, this I have done. Also, in the as I grow up, I have discovered that this kind of appreciation of reasoning and logic and analytical thinking is not only within the Indian or Tibetan tradition, but very much so in the West. So I grow up really getting excited and really appreciating what do you call it? Renaissance or age of reasoning, romantics, is it romantics? Age of reasoning? Yeah. But I also, I guess you can say from a Dharma point of view, from the Vajrayana point of view, I would go to, during the summertime, I would go to Buddhist college to deconstruct everything, basically. Analyze everything. And then during the winter break, when I was growing up, there were, all my family people. And usually, my family from both sides, they're yogis, Mahamudra and Mahasandhi sort of lineage. And lot of insinuation from both sides that how much I'm wasting my time analyzing things, deconstructing things, how I'm wasting my life doubting everything, how I am so deprived with things like pure perception, devotion, Looking back, I think it's very fortunate that I have that. But, growing up, it was so much confusion. Winter, there's all that calling the Guru, the Telopa, the Naropa, the Longchenpa, Guru Rinpoche, Yeshe Tsogyo, all this mind-boggling stuff. When Guru Rinpoche went to Tibet, the mountains even bowed down, and then the things moved, and then there were all these miracles, and during the summertime there were all these campos, like deconstructing everything. But anyway, after now 50 years going this and that, I think I can say I have an appreciation, a veneration. I don't want to, I think it is too arrogant for me to claim that I practice Vajrayana. That is too arrogant. But I think I can sort of say that I aspire, I wish I practice Buddha Dharma in general, and especially Vajrayana. Not all the time, by the way. Time to time, when I'm sober, so to speak. Because, I really get very thrilled and very excited and convinced. I like the ideas like poison is medicine. I just like that. It excites me. I like when I hear things like, profane is sacred, Dhamma, sacred, right? And I like things like, when I hear things like that this emotion that I have, this emotion very is wisdom. I like that. Yeah, of course, just intellectual level, but this is the year 2021. Having this kind of statement alive, that's good. That's amazing. And not only these are just a statement. Poison is medicine, emotion is wisdom, profane is sacred. Not only these are just a statement, oh, by the way, if the translators are having a hard time, I can slow down a little bit. So if someone can send a message. Not only there's that kind of statement, that kind of philosophy or a science, if you like, but there's actual technique, there's actual path that is there, that you can actually apply these technique. What do you call it? Empiricism, right? Empiricism. We like to have that, isn't it? Empirical. And that's very much so with this wisdom of profane is sacred and poison is medicine and so on and so forth. This is something that is empirical. This is something that you can actually experience. you can actually you can actually find out whether you are this emotion. It doesn't matter what kind of emotion. It can be very melancholic, sentimental, or it can be very destructive even, or very dull and depressing. But it is possible now to experience that there are actually wisdom. This is not just a statement. I know it is difficult to sort of accept it, but that's just because, we are not giving this a chance. And if you really give the chance, it is possible. It's not a myth. It's not a story. And this kind of practice, this kind of tradition and know-how has been there for 2,000 years. It's not just like recently discovered somewhere in the South Beach when someone got excited looking at a sunset. This is very much, tested by many people. And by a lot of people, in fact. A lot of amazing people, scholars and kings, queens, some of the greatest leaders in the world. Genghis Khan, right? Actually, this should tell us something. Genghis Khan. Oh, people. If I say this, people will think he wasn't really behaving like a Buddhist, has he? This is the question that people would ask. This is an interesting question, actually, because somehow we have put Buddhism into the basket of well-behaving basket. So, that is an interesting. But maybe later we can discuss this. There were a lot of interesting people. Genghis Khan, he was a Buddhist, but quite an interesting person. And there was King Trisong Gyaltsen of Tibet. Yeah, of course, if you ask a Tibetan and especially a Nyingmapas, they will revere him as this great Manjushri incarnate, the compassionate, the all-omnipotent, etc., etc. But history have also said that he was at times like a childlike. Like when he was upset with his ministers, he would eat his shoes and he would roll on the ground and he would beat himself up. But this is also a king who really ruled big time. I think it's important that we sometimes go beyond, what do you call it, stereotyping? Alexandra, Napoleon, we always have a stereotype, like big, not moving, kind of the quality of human beings. But anyway, there were many interesting practitioners. generally Buddha Dharma and especially Vajrayana, it has been tested and practiced and by a lot of people. And I have to say, there were a lot of charlatans too. There were a lot of phony charlatans, people who took advantage of Mahayana, Theravada, Sharvakayana, Vajrayana, all of that. That's sort of what we human beings do. Charlatans makes our life interesting. And there has been a lot of that. There has been a lot of that. There have been a lot of opportunist. And not just because of all these strange, controversial people, but Tantra itself is a controversy. Tantra itself has always been, by the way. Some may think that this Vajrayana Buddhism is becoming a controversial thing now. No, it has always been controversial, right from the beginning. From the time it started, actually. Obviously, our system that says poison is medicine, what do you expect? That's already asking for trouble, isn't it? Profane is sacred. You're already starting with a controversy here. So Tantra definitely is. Tantra cannot be appreciated by everyone, understandably, Not only it cannot be appreciated by everyone, in fact, there were a lot of, people who really condemned Tantra. More so in Buddhism. Within the Buddhist. And rightfully so, many times. Tantra has been looked at with suspicious, with a lot of suspicion, historically. So, if you are looking at the tantric history, Tantra has always been kept. I don't like the word secret, but it was not exhibited, definitely. It was kept, guarded very zealously and carefully. Actually, the reason why Tantra was kept secretly with a lot of determination is really out of care and compassion from the people who are stakeholder of Tantra in the past. Because not only that we need to save the people from misusing the Tantra, of course, but I think that is much less, and that is a smaller, thing to worry in a way. But more importantly, if people who are not matured, people who are not ready, even have a slight doubt to this incredible, magical, alchemy, if you like. Even if there's a little bit of a doubt, this will, distance the person from approaching to the Tantra for, according to the Buddhist language, eons after eons. And that is very unfortunate for them. So this is why we always hear this, our masters, like my teacher, Khyentse Rinpoche, one thing he keep on repeating to people like me is like, no matter what you do, try your best so that someone will not have some sort of a suspicion towards the Vajrayana, which will then really keep them distant for many, many, many lifetimes. I will tell you something which may be kind of heavy to hear this. There are people who I don't know whether I should say this, but I will say it mildly. I will water it down a little bit, okay? There are people who are so afraid to believe in reasoning than falling into the hell realm. Some tantric practitioners, they are more worried about that. They are more worried about becoming sensible than going to hell. We can discuss about this if you sort of confuse what I'm saying. But this is such a it's an important statement. This is a really, really important statement. But actually this is not only in the Vajrayana, even in the Mahayana. When asked Chandrakirti, to whom should we give Shunyata teaching? He said, he never said, to those Harvard and Yale graduates. This I made it up, but what I'm saying is, not to those who are so smart and so well-read and so reasonable and so educated. He never chose them. Who did he choose? He said, one should teach Shunyata to those people who just mentioning the name, the word Shunyata, they have a goosebump. They have tears in their eyes. To these people, you should teach Shunyata. Coming from Chandrakirti, it's quite amazing, because if you read Chandrakirti, he was really a big time, reasoning man, Prasangika, Madhyamika, really big time. He was deconstructing everything. But at the end, when asked to whom to teach Shunyata, he said this. Shunyata is reserved for those just hearing the name of Shunyata, you feel goosebumps. And if you think about it, it's actually quite understandable what these statements. I think to be a vessel for teachings like Shunyata, teachings such as Sungjuk, union, right? Union, Sungjuk. The union like a Mahamudra or a Mahasandhi. Just the intellect, sort of being smart is not enough. In fact, it's not that important. What you need is, I think the English word is neck, right? Neck. You have to, neck. You have to have the neck. You have to have that, you just have to, I was looking at this word neck, and the English dictionary says, some just have special neck for getting into trouble. What do you think? This is good. Some people just have that neck. Like bent, right? The other way, the bent, hang. You just, is it hang also? Like some just have that neck. And this, if you ask me, this neck, if you ask me what is that, I think the Buddhists would say it's called merit. That's the best word in English I can come up with. Swanam, punya. And I'm sure, many of you know this, many of you are very, for whatever reason you are inspired by half paralyzed, half drunk, at times squeaking person, and you are very inspired. The other people get almost, other people by looking at somebody like Lady Gaga, and when they look at her meat jacket, right? She wears a meat outfit, and they almost come close to sort of orgasmic situation. You just have that neck. You have that neck. This happens. This happens. I think you know what I'm talking about, a neck. Some people have really just so good at real estate. Housing. Some are so good at this. They just know what to buy and when to buy. They're just so... I know one person. And when you meet this kind of people, then of course, no need to keep it secret with this kind of people. If not, then I think keeping it secret is maybe not the right word. Like treasure, really, protect it. It's quite important. Secrecy, treasuring it, not to reveal it. Just openly. It's kind of important. But Tibetans have been so bad with this. They are, I guess the whole Tibet, somehow, one way or another, has this Vajrayana culture. So I guess it was understandable in a place like Tibet or Bhutan, but Tibetans just can't keep things secret. They just itching to talk and exhibit. And this has put Vajrayana into grave danger, especially now. You know, in pre-1959 Tibet, there was no bookshop, where you can also choose books like Kabbalah, I don't know. There's not much choice. I don't think there was a bookshop. Maybe it's only Buddhist library. No, there's just so much of this. So it's actually quite. Sometimes I really think this is the blessing of the Buddhas, that it's really amazing that images such as the Chakrasambhara and Vajrayogini, we have this in the Dhamma centers in places like upstate New York, where other people also, come. And wow, what do they think? There's so much tolerance, tolerance, so much. Maybe the Tibetan painting is so abstract, they don't really know what's going on. Maybe. But Tibetans are not so good with keeping it secret. And even me today, coming here, and you all know, most of you all know I'm a Vajrayana student, right? You know that. That's already not good, actually. Actually, that's already mistake. And I have myself told you just now, I aspire to practice Vajrayana. I shouldn't have said this, especially if there are new people. That's how it should be. But now, this is how it is. I told you. This just... Anyway, as I said, I do have aspiration to practice Tantra. I don't want to claim I'm a Tantric practitioner. I'm not saying this out of humility. I'm more like not to, more like a, disclaimer. Yes, I have aspiration to practice the Vajrayana. And not always, okay? Quite a lot of time. I say that I have aspiration to practice Vajrayana but not always, and not 100%. And the reason is, even after all these years, the tantric teachings still surprises me. So which means that there's still a lot of things that I still, yet to discover. Even as recent as, in New York. When I was in New York, somebody gave me a volume of tantric texts. And just that afternoon, since there was nothing much going on, I was reading a few pages. And this text I have read so many times in the past. But it's just so surprising. There were sentences and phrases that I have read so much, but I'm finding out some new information. So, yes, I do have aspiration, but I think it can really go much more. I still think. This is because tantric view is vast and deep. And not only that, sometimes tantric view is too simple. It's so simple that just cannot, cannot accept, dare not accept. Because habit of this logic, no pain, no gain, is so strong in my head. Just unbelievable when someone says, no pain, all gain. That's just not possible. And not only the view, the technique, and the skillful means is just infinite. Dare not accept, unfathomable, cannot fit in my small mind. There are many reasons why I dare not accept Tantra. Because no matter how I try, the theistic residual with me is still. This is actually quite shocking, because I grew up studying Madhyamika and Brahmana and so on and so forth, but must be some past lives thing. The theistic sort of savior, relying on a savior, somebody will fix me. That residual is so strong with me. So Tantra becomes unfathomable sometimes. And not only that, sometimes atheist residual is also there. That atheist residual is also blocking me to understand and appreciate Tantra. It's very complicated. And recently, of course, the temptation to join the, bandwagon? Right, bandwagon. Wow, that is strong. Temptation to join the bandwagon? Not a tantric thing to do. What's the expression? If you are not with us, you are with enemy, right? Well, yeah. If you are not with us, you are against us. Wow. That is strong. It shakes me. And when that shakes you, then it makes your tantric capacity shaken. And then, of course, I'm also scared of the wrath of goody-goody liberals. This I have to say. Those who are reading my Facebook or whatever, this is sort of, what do you call it, my access, I try to upset the liberals, but this is actually, what do you call it in the psychology, reverse psychology or something? It just means that I'm so afraid of them. I'm trying to, I don't know. It is very scary, the liberal wrath. Really scary. And among other things, I'm talking about how I find myself not a healthy, not strong tantric vessel. I love, I love collecting like pencils. Pencil? I love collecting, bags. Yeah, bags. But that doesn't matter. Pencil bag doesn't matter so much. Worse is I love collecting antidotes. Antidotes. Not good. Tantric people don't like this. My forefathers, Telopas, Naropas, I don't know what they are thinking looking down at me. I love collecting antidotes. I think antidotes are chok, sprim, what do you call it, nyempo choks and sprim. They are good. I consider them as good. And then also, morality, ethic, considering them as wholesome. But these are all human, this is how human mind works. This is how human mind functions. Human mind is complicated. We say we like to think out of box. Not just we say we like to think out of box, but we like to also do things out of box, I guess. But to actually apply that is difficult, because we also want to fit with other people. I told you, joining the bandwagon, so important. Even if you are craving for a cup of nice coffee, if there is some strange, coffee shop, it's difficult to choose that, isn't it? It's much safer to choose Starbucks because you already know what is there. Latte, grand, small, this, you basically know, so you feel safe. this the adventure, full adventure to choose this obscure coffee shop is difficult. So all this basically is destroy is maybe not the right word, but all this is weakening, at least, the magic. In the Guhya Garbha Tantra, the word is Jumdrul Trawa, sort of magical net. Is it magical net? You know, we lose this. What to do? You know, poison is medicine. That is a magic. Medicine is also poison. That is also a magic. And fact that there is no such thing as ultimate poison and ultimate medicine, that is also a magic. And I think this then, I don't know, weakens this kind of, what do you call it? Net of Maya, illusion, magic, paradoxy, which is something that is always here, always there, but falling into the trap of poison as a poison only. Medicine is medicine only, then deprive us from actually being able to enjoy the wealth, the infinite, vast, deep wealth of this magic. Anyway, probably magic is already not an acceptable term in this world of, what do you call it, empiricism, science, technology. Anyway, karmic connection. Power of cause and condition, power of karmic link is so strong that even, what do you call it, miles and miles away from Ganges in Varanasi, or in this case, I think probably it's anyway, it doesn't matter. Miles away from Ganges. The teachings of the Mahamudra, Mahasandhi, coming to this land. And brought here by Chögyam Trungpa Rinpoche. And a lot of you here are his children. Vajra student. And yes, I have a very mixed feeling towards this place. This is, I don't know whether it's improving, but so much, what do you call it, not even thinking about Buddha Dharma in general. There's just so much appreciation and in awe of what Trungpa Rinpoche have brought here. If you are looking at, I was looking at some of the texts that do you do this Tabokaju lineage chant sometimes? I don't know, for many of you, what do you think? But even the verses like, awareness is the body of meditation, as is taught. Whatever arises is fresh. The essence of realization to this meditator who rests simply without altering. Just this message, or this verses, this stanza. Just this stanza having brought here and build a systematic system, I don't know, atmosphere, culture, if you like, to really bring this this spirit is maybe not the right word, this wisdom it's, I don't know, if one can think about these things, it's like mind-boggling that such a teaching is brought here, and not just read over our coffee, talked about it, but actually, a lot of you for years spent time cultivating, engaging with this kind of wisdom. And concepts such as Vajrayogini, Chakrasampara, must be so alien. The symbol, language, the whole method. But this is still being carried on. And as somebody who's sort of, outside, observing, past maybe 35 years now, and a lot of challenge you have gone through, but still going on. Things like Tamalji Shepa, the word Tamalji Shepa, that is still alive. And there are still people who think that Tamalji Shepa pointing out are important, something to sought after, something to invest your time and energy. These are blessings from my point of view. And I don't know, I feel very encouraged. You have to remember, it took more than 1,000 years to really establish Buddha Dharma in Tibet. Here, how many years? 200 years? 200, maybe? And lot of challenges, of course, because this is precious. The other text I was reading, it's just incredible. Like Gongma Rigden Laila Mi Wang Buddhavigan, Sapsal Songsen Kunjala, Tetsom Mebra Chatsalo. The concept of Rigden. I don't know what people who are new to this think about. Rigden is just, I don't know, it's inexpressible, but profound. Sal is what? How do you translate sal? sub, sul, clear, brilliant, what profound, brilliant, just, and firm, powerful, powerful. To this one, tetsum mebar chasalo, not, never to have any doubt towards this. I was talking to some young people today. I feel very encouraged, and this I want to repeat. I heard that the world of artificial intelligence is coming up more and more. So people are going to have identity crisis because of that. Because, a lot of jobs and professions are going to be taken over by artificial intelligence, which means that who are we? What are we now? What is, because many times we identify ourselves with a job, I guess, or some sort of profession. And then, of course, in the modern day, we alienate ourselves. We have existential angst. It is at that time, if you can just continue a little bit, just a few more years, I would say, 100 years, I would say, yeah. If you can just continue, hold these values of Rigden, Sap, Sal, Song, Zen. And then there are subsequent stories about how, some people are scared of this, Rigden, whatever, you understand, you feel sort of scared or doubtful, and then all these cowardly people will arise, something like that. I don't know how you translate it. I'm just reading the Tibetan. And then all sorts of bunch of coward people will arise. And then what do? They go and hide in the cave, in the forest. And in the water, I think. And then they kill their own kins and eat their flesh. This is a letter of Ashe, is it? Letter of Black Ashe. I'm just reading in Tibetan. Really badly I'm translating, so don't laugh at me too much. But it's just incredible. If you can just hold on to this, just another 100 years. This is iPhone 12. So when this is in Metropolitan Museum in about 20 years, and when people laugh at this, what a funky, clunky thing that they use. At that time, these words will be the answer to this identity crisis. I need you to say this tonight. This is actually the only thing I wanted to say. All the other things that I've said earlier, just to fill up the sort of the evening. This is what I wanted to say for those who are here. Of course, you will have challenge. Of course. Then, you have to, deal with it and, sometimes be strong, sometimes be very skillful and glide through this. But this needs to be treasured. And I think a lot of people here are doing incredible work preserving this. I offer my rejoice. I know some people are not having enough time to do some other things, but, right? Anyway, I won't go through the detail. Okay, so I was told there's a lot of questions. I don't know whether we have enough time to answer all, but maybe some questions.
Rinpoche? Hello? It's on now, okay. I will, yeah. Can't take the mask off. Rinpoche, these questions have been submitted from people all over, and we selected a few to start with. These are the difficult questions.
Oh.
How can you actually tell if a teacher is being abusive, acting out of confusion, or is acting with skillful means? How can you tell?
This question, I don't know where is this question who is asking this question? Because this kind of question should not even be there if you are not studying and practicing Tantra, Vajrayana. Of course, even in the Vajrayana, the teacher actually is more responsible in taking care of the student as his or her only child. So, abusing and harming the student in the Vajrayana is fundamentally wrong, because the Vajrayana is basically based on pratimoksha, which is, no matter what kind of tantric practitioner you are, you have to practice, you have to take refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha. And as someone who has taken refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and the Sangha, the fundamental practice is not to harm others. So even on that level, teacher is not supposed to, harm others. But having said that, in the Tantra, now, if you are consciously, and this has been something I have been saying because of all the recent happenings within the Vajrayana world, I've been saying this. If you have consciously decide to apply the Vajrayana after a lot of analysis, after a lot of thinking, after deciding that this is the path that you are going to take, this is an adventure that you will join, then you have to have the wits and guts and the courage to take a lot of things as not just skillful means, but as a wisdom. But as I said earlier, if this question is coming for generally all Buddhism, no. In the Sarvakayana, in the Theravada, and in the Mahayana, no. This this is, it's much more clearer, much more black and white in the causal path. Yes, in the Vajrayana path, it is much more difficult because Vajrayana is what do you call it? Individual choice. You have to really choose this. But again, I've been realizing that this question is probably also based on, I don't know, where is this question coming from? There's a lot of, what do you call it, background of this question. Okay, this may sound not so good for a lot of people, but I think we need to say this. Buddhism is never really, its ultimate aim is not really to develop a social structure, you know. Yeah, it's never really that. And I'm saying this in reference to many other religions. I think many other religion is connected to, social structure, morality, ethic, etc., etc. Buddhism is not really that, and this will always, emotionally or intellectually, I think it ends up conflicting people a little bit. So this is why I always encourage people should really go through some sort of an in-depth study. I mean, one good example, I'm always telling this, like there's no such thing as a Buddhist wedding. You know, it's a social structure. Maybe many religions have this. Or many religions even have things like, if you steal somebody's wallet, what to do with their hand. But, Buddhists don't really have that. Let's say there is actually a Buddhist wedding. More likely, Buddhists would also have a divorce ceremony. This is how the Buddhists think. It's not really. So, this question is very, very vast, really vast. So if this question is coming from some sort of a structure, kind of a social structure, then it gets really complicated. But yes, fundamentally, this is what I need to tell you. If you are a Buddhist, you have taken refuge to Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Therefore, you cannot harm others. That is fundamental. But harming, not harming, helping, not helping, all this also gets so complicated because it's very subjective. And also, like good and bad. So subjective. I'm sorry, I'm not really answering this but clearly, but I can't really clearly explain this for a general, more than what I just said. Since you are a Vajrayana, if you are a Vajrayana guru, then this must mean that you are practicing Mahayana and the Sarvakayana. Therefore, no, you cannot harm others. Definitely not. with the intention and action. No, cannot. Okay, next question.
Okay. If Vajrayana is so great, why are so many long-time Vajrayana practitioners still totally confused and disconnected from reality?
Yeah. That I think is easier, I think. Well, I don't know, you know. Just because you are a Vajrayana practitioner doesn't mean that you are really practicing it properly. That's the one. Number two, maybe he or she is really trying to disconnect from the society, and that could be pain in the neck for a lot of people. It's very subjective also, again. I think, it's very, very subjective. Maybe you see them as confused and, what was it? Dysfunctional?
Disconnected from reality?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you may think like that, but that's really difficult, isn't it? I mean, okay, what did Jigme Lingpa said? I think, if you're looking at the prayers written by the great masters of the past, there's a lot of that, like the way they define a perfect human. According to Jigme Lingpa, if you are disconnected from a reality in the, human's reality, you have achieved your goal. You have done a good job. He has this kind of prayers. What did he say? May 100 things that I wish never come true. May 1,000 things that I dare not wish comes true. Stuff like that. So that's again little difficult to answer. I don't want to say that. Yeah, I'm sure there must be a lot of disconnected to reality Vajrayana practitioner. I mean, myself, I have to say, I volunteer as a good example of very much. I'm not just saying this. Very much. I told you already in the the half part of what I said earlier. There's a lot of schizophrenia kind of element in me. It's very difficult. But when I told my masters what to do with it, he said it's actually it actually means that I'm struggling between the world of dharma and the world of material world. And he says that that's probably at least sort of a beginning stage of good thing, he said. At least I'm schizophrenia. At least I'm not totally, completely, blindly happy with this illusory world. I think maybe it's a good thing. So it's a very, very difficult. If you want to talk about poison is medicine level of conversation, you need to really think like that. I don't want to, say, I don't want to tell you, okay, this is the right thing to do, this is the wrong thing to do. Who am I to say this? I don't have that kind of, I'm not a almighty person who can decide this. Did you want to do? Okay.
Rinpoche, I have two questions. The first one is, I'm really wondering if you could say a little bit more about why it's so bad in the Vajrayana to collect antidotes. And the second one is, if you have any advice for those of us that deeply in our bones want the letter of the Black Ashe to still be available in 100 years, what can we do now, especially when we feel disheartened?
The collecting antidote business, you need to hear this, that it's bad, but you should still keep on collecting. But you need to hear it. This is the thing about tantric path. I'm telling you, it tells you to do something, it says something, and it makes you, it also makes you do something else. Like in the sadhana practice, the whole morning it makes you rise as a deity, and suddenly within 1 second you have to dissolve everything. Stuff like that. As for the keeping the...
Why is it bad? Why? We need to hear it's bad, but why is it bad?
Because if you have an antidote, then you will always have the opposite of antidote, and which you don't want, right? Why would, so which means you have a problem. So get rid of both. As for the, like the wealth of, like Black Ashe, the words, all of this, as I said, I think you guys are doing it right now. I think you just need to continue whatever you are doing. Probably sometimes we get disheartened because we tend to think that an organization or a board of people who should do this and that, when they don't do it, then we get disheartened. But if you're looking at the history of Buddha Dharma, it's always out of nowhere somebody will come and protect. It's always like that. Look at the history of the Buddha Dharma. I mean, like, wow, the mother of Asanga and Vasubandhu, India, male-domineering, male chauvinist society, like men, all of that. And then there's this nun. This is, I think we are talking about what, Asanga, 6th century? Even before, right? I think so, before, because 4th century, nun, Buddhist nun, she was so disheartened and she really wanted to protect Buddha Dharma, so she really doesn't know what to do because she's a woman, India, man, all that. So she just had an affair with a prince, just to make a baby, and then came out Asanga. Just imagine India, nun, flirting with a prince. Wow, the scandal she had to go through. And then, as if this is not enough, she jilted the prince and then hang around with a Brahmin. That's like unacceptable in India. And then came Vasubandhu, who was this to Asanga and the Vasubandhu. They are like a pioneer of the, Mahayana. They're like equal to, I would say Asanga is equal to Nagarjuna. So I think from the most unexpected and can come. And I think this exists because there are people who are motivated. I think this is so true even with the Buddha in the world today, Dharma today. I have noticed this. Even in, like in the West, many times Rinpoches, like myself, I don't know, stakeholders, we don't do as much as we should be doing. But then there's always this like a mother of 3 children, no husband, have to work hard. She is the one who's cleaning the center, making the photocopies, I don't know, cooking, making people come to listen to these teachings, work so hard. So these people will always hold the fort, I feel. Okay? So, any more question? Maybe, yeah, there
are some more questions.
Okay.
From cyberspace. How can you continue to defend the system and the people that have ruined many people's lives?
I think
caused harm.
What?
That have caused harm, ruined my friends and my lives.
I don't know, again, where is this question coming from? If the question is referring to things I have written or said, I have always been really talking about how Vajrayana needs to be guarded and defended. Not really the person. If people sort of read it carefully, because what's the English expression? Don't throw baby with the bathwater. Yeah, I think that is quite important. So even if you are looking at like words like Rigden, Sap, Sal, Song, Zen, wow, you cannot throw this. Those are important. Those are going to be beneficial for a lot of people. Just because certain people who you have a very reasonable or unreasonable expectations and assumptions do not really perform their job, or you see it that way, if you also discard this, it's a loss for, I think, all of us. And this has always been what I have been trying to say, because Vajrayana is really, really precious. And yes, as I said, Vajrayana suffered a lot with the controversy stuff because of the, I think many times because of the tantric people. How they behave, how they are not skillful, how they, I don't know, exude themselves. But Tantra wisdom itself is so precious and so timely, and especially for the modern people, I think it's so good. If you want to be thinking out of the box, this is it. If you disregard this, no way going out of the box. I don't think so. I have thought about this, for months and months and months. Especially during this past 2 years, because of pandemic, there was a lot of time to think. So, yes. The Vajrayana is incredible, and that need to be protected. Okay? Maybe one more question and then.
What would you say to the children of parents who were so focused on getting enlightened that their children experienced neglect or even abuse?
These are such a big questions. Parenting. I have never been a parent myself, so I'm not in a position to really make much comment. But what I have been telling my friends who have children is, I think it is a sensible, commonsensical thing to do is never really force and shout down the Buddhist values and ethics and, teachings. Even practically speaking, the children always seems to do the opposite of what you say. So maybe it is not a skillful thing to do. Instead, if you want your children to also follow, like let's say Buddha Dharma, ideally, if you as a parent keep on doing your practice with humility, compassion, kindness, just, tolerance, big mind, big vision, big view, I think children will always be very proud of you. Children will always look up to you and see you as, they say that the parents are the real school. So I think if the parents just keep on doing I'm assuming that this question is regarding the Dharma practitioner parents. So if it is, if you keep on doing your Dharma practice, but not really imposing on them, sometimes actually deliberately not imposing, almost like keeping them out a little bit, out of skillful means. They might want to actually come into you more. Then you pretend that, you don't want them right away. Then they will want more. I think something like that probably is the way to go. But parenting is difficult, I think, especially in this modern age, where I feel that individualism, liberal value, so much cherished and hyped. And now there's all kinds of media that will help you alienate yourself from each other. So I don't know how the parents are even going to have any kind of impact. I mean the future parents. Something to think about. But there's always going to be a conflict, I think, between wanting to fit in. I'm sure all the future generations, they will always want to fit in. I don't know how they will want to fit in. Maybe through social media or internet. Anyway, if the question is regarding as a Buddhist parents, how do we deal with, how do we at least not neglect, is by practicing the Dharma authentically, properly, and not imposing that to them. I think so. Okay. Thank you.
May I say something?
Yes.
Okay, because I am one of those kids, by the way. Good evening, and I met Trungpa Rinpoche when I was 5. First time I met him, and this is true, I screamed. Absolute bloody murder. My mother was a very young mother. She was a single mother, 18. And in some sense, and this is kind of true thinking about it, I haven't stopped screaming since. This is true. It's a penetrating type of energy. And what I remember very clearly is it shifted my entire life. My mother met this crazy, crippled Tibetan person and packed me and my half-brother up in a truck and drove across the country. That's crazy in some point of view. However, I would not trade that for anything, absolutely anything. It's inconceivable the merit I have for some reason to be able to stand here at all. And I did not want to get up and speak tonight. I didn't want to ask a question, but the last question provoked me. And what it provokes is, it's very important that we cherish our mothers as children. Our mothers give birth to future Buddhas from one perspective. So my mother is, I'm very lucky, is still alive, and she just did a 9-month retreat at Gampo Abbey, and they call her Sparky, was her nickname. Desi Howard, some people know her. So Rinpoche, could we possibly perform a magic trick? Yeah? It's going to involve a little bit of props. But it's a true match, and I have no attainment or special powers or anything, just totally regular guy. But I do carry around this stone, and this is going to really piss some of the Buddhists. Do not get this at all. It really makes them a little insecure. They're like, what is that guy? Like Larry, he's a Jewish, very intellectual. He's like, Ethan, get rid of the damn stone. What are you doing with the stone? And I'm like, Larry, the stone's not going anywhere. It's just a stone. But I'm going to show you a magic trick. Watch this. Now, a stone, Larry, has a secret magic power. What do you think it is? It's gravity. Gravity. So, now, we are in a room of sleeping Buddhas, and Rinpoche, all we need you to do is just be the Buddha for just maybe even like a second, if that's possible. I mean, we're kind of putting our faith in you to be able to handle that part of the equation here. So I'm going to make a wish. So this stone is a completely ordinary stone in my hand. I want everybody to take a look. It's just an ordinary stone. Everybody can see it, right? It's ordinary. This stone is also a wish-fulfilling jewel. It's priceless. I'm going to get it insured, in fact. I'm looking into talking to some lawyers about this for $1 million. But so this wish-fulfilling jewel, I'm making a wish right now. And this wish is going to come true. And this wish comes from my mother. My mother said, I was down in Annapolis Royal, and she said, Ethan, I have these peace gates that I cart around with me for doing Bugaku and Gagaku. And the Vijayadhara, she told me directly to my face, she said, Ethan, the Vijayadhara told John Sell to his face, the entire kingdom of Shambhala depends on doing this ridiculous dance. It's a really excruciating dance, Gagaku. Have you ever heard of this, Rinpoche? It's the imperial court dance of Japan. And what I realized when I was just up in Cape Breton is my mother is actually a kind of lineage holder, and it's important. And that lineage comes from Togi Sensei. And the Vijayadhara said, you have to do this dance because the entire kingdom of Shambhala depends on this. Now, he said lots of stuff to lots of people. He probably told Larry, like, translation is the most important thing in the universe. Every text you do has to be translated perfectly. I understand that. But what I'm doing is I'm creating a wish that in 2023, on September 21st in Kalapa Valley, and I'm going to put in $5,000 to pay my mother to take those gates and the beautiful costume and dance, gagaku, with a live orchestra. And there are a few people who know how to play these really far-out instruments. And then what I'm going to ask is all of the other Shambhala artists, like who do these flower arranging, and even the grumpy ones like Gina Stick, who just like, I don't know, I think I irritate her more than anybody, but she, when you hold one of her porcelain dishes in your hands, you're holding the kingdom of Shambhala literally in your hand. And it really pisses me off because I don't understand why she seems so grouchy, but it's probably me. So I'm making this wish. Now, I found this morning, this stone, I walked into an antique gallery this morning, and I can find objects with this stone. It's weird. I found a very beautiful vase, and it's a Shambhala vase. It's kind of like a blessing vase, except for this is from the Qing dynasty. It's very priceless, and I got it for a reasonable price. And I would like to auction that off to build a roof for the little hovel up there in Kalapa Valley. Our palace of Kalapa is infested with mice, and in fact, Gary Brown, the director of Kalapa Valley, was up there fixing the roof, and snakes, I kid you not, came out of the ceiling. Snakes out of the ceiling. So we need a new roof up there. So I'm pledging that in 2 years, I will, with this stone, with your help and a wish, we will build a new roof.
Okay.
Okay? Sorry to take your time. And also, Rinpoche, you can always gong me off, as you know. I'm really, anyways, I appreciate all your time. And it is an unbelievable blessing that you are here. Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Okay.
And Larry, you're going to meet the stone in person.